Imagine you're the ruler of a very prosperous kingdom. In this kingdom, everyone is obliged to unconditionally agree with you. Your ego is through the roof.
Every idea you have goes undisputed. So when a great drought breaks out, you don't ask anyone for their advice because you have the most fabulous mind of all. It sounds great, right?
Wrong. Your ideas fell flat and all your sheep died in a drought. You're left with no food, no water, and no resources. Your ego might have been high, but your kingdom was certainly low.
Could this all have been avoided if you had just asked your subjects for their perspectives?
We'll answer that later, but first, let's get to a little background. Hello everyone, my name is Katarina.
And I'm Mahsa.
Our friendship is a little unusual. We met in 7th grade just before lockdown started. Since then, it's like the universe has been trying its best to keep us apart. We haven't attended the same school for more than 6 years, and the only long stretches of time we've spent together have been over the summers working on projects together side by side. And during these summers, we'd work together for hours, and we'd sit there and just talk. And now some of you might be thinking, wow, that sounds mind-numbingly boring, especially with this one. But actually, it made our summers so much more fun. Some might say a little bit too much fun.
In those conversations, we talked about everything we learned while we were apart. We had both met people who saw the world very differently from us. And each time we talked, we tried to see things from their point of view. How did they get to their conclusions? And what might we have missed? Through that, we realized that our own beliefs were rarely ever being challenged. And that thought led us to an even bigger issue: polarization. Algorithms, media, and even our social circles constantly feed us the same perspectives that we refuse to let go of. And if our beliefs are never questioned, they freeze. And when everyone's views freeze, progress stops.
Growth, both personal and social, starts with seeing beyond just a single perspective. A perspective is the lens through which we see the world. When many of those lenses overlap, they form culture, which is your shared values, your norms, and the language of your society.
So how do we actually expand that lens? That's where our 3 pillars of perspective come in. To challenge your perspective, grow it, and learn to see through someone else's.
Our first pillar is simple: challenging your perspective and staying curious. And no, not just about your 3 a.m. YouTube rabbit hole on the world's deadliest bugs, but about the people around you. The easiest way to have interesting conversations is to ask meaningful questions. When was the last time you had a conversation with a friend or even a stranger that actually changed how you think? Step outside of your comfort zone and talk to that person you find interesting. Please know, we are not asking you to terrorize some poor pedestrian.
We avoid talking to others without realizing it's actually limiting us. Even in your own friendships, there is so much you can gain by just being curious about your friends' lives.
One of our most intense disagreements was about an issue that was really personal to both of us. Charli XCX, who, if you don't know, is a very prominent artist in the hyperpop genre.
I argued that, in my opinion, her music didn't really sound like music at all, just noise. It was the same words repeated over and over again on a simple beat with no real meaning.
I wholeheartedly disagreed. Mahsa didn't understand how difficult it was to overlay such an impressive blend of hyperpop, and I said what Charli was doing was revolutionary for the genre.
We debated for hours, and in the end, we decided that our different preferences were because we interpret the music differently, and that's okay. But by questioning each other's views, we were able to understand the reasoning behind our likes and dislikes, beyond just an empty statement of love or hate.
Hearing perspectives you truly disagree with very much matters. How can you be sure of your beliefs if they've never been put into question before? Growth doesn't come from being comfortable. It comes from being uncomfortable and sitting with that and remaining curious.
Our second pillar centers around creativity. For Katarina and me, creativity has been a big part of our friendship. In fact, this pillar reminded us of this past summer, where our team created our 3rd fully sustainable biobench made from mushroom roots, also known as mycelium.
Or, in other words, we imprisoned mushrooms and put them in our bench.
We were in charge of designing the painting that would go on the back of the bench. And since the bench was to be placed at Amazon's sustainability building, we thought it would be fitting to paint a detailed and elaborate sustainable city.
And of course, we made this way harder than it needed to be. The entire planning and sketching process was grueling. We went to our favorite cafe and laid out our massive paper scroll, monopolizing half of the available space and probably driving everyone around us to their last nerve as we argued around mountains and buildings.
I remember looking over at Katarina, hunched over the table like a shrimp. Our hands ached so badly, we joked we were getting arthritis at the ripe age of 17. And that's when the tempting thought of using AI to speed up the process crossed our minds.
But AI, like any other shortcut, takes away from the fundamental human experience of creating and learning. It's like if you were to look up the synopsis of a show instead of watching the entire thing and developing your own opinion and just forming it off of what you read online instead.
This isn't about rejecting technology. It's about recognizing that shortcuts can cost us growth. Ultimately, we were more proud of our project because we developed it ourselves without using some sort of shortcut. When we skip the process for convenience, we lose the opportunity to grow our perspectives.
Our third and final pillar is surrounding yourself with people who are different from you.
As tempting as it may be, you can't talk to yourself all the time. I mean, just imagine how irritating being stuck in a room with 100 clones of yourself forever would be.
But I'm sure if you were in a room with 100 people from many different walks of life, you'd have a lot more to talk about. As we've said before, culture is shared perspective. It's your values, the norms that you're raised with, and the stories you hear.
For the past 3 years, our friend group has had a Friendsgiving tradition. Rather than traditional Thanksgiving foods, we each bring a dish from our cultures. And it's not every day you have a table full of foods from almost every continent. But no matter how busy life has gotten, this tradition has helped us stay close by sharing something that's very dear to us, our families and our culture.
Sharing these home-cooked meals sparked curiosity, and we gained more perspectives about one another. Beyond just food, we learned about the hardships our families faced overseas and their perseverance despite that. And these stories strengthened our empathy, not just for one another, but for societies far beyond our own.
We all know the importance of diversity, both in the social and the scientific sense. But one often overlooked aspect of it is its ability to humanize those different from us. It is so easy to feel disconnected from each other, especially in our modern digitized world.
Expanding your perspectives by building connections develops empathy. The more you understand people, the more empathy you feel. When you truly listen to someone's perspective, you put yourself in their shoes and practice empathy by doing so. When we lose human connection, we lose empathy, and without empathy, progress stops.
So we've shared our 3 pillars: challenging your beliefs through curiosity, going through the process of creation, and building empathy.
They're not just ideas, they're choices you make every day.
Our society moves forward only if we have the ability to hold on to many perspectives, to challenge our own beliefs, and to value the process.
To push ourselves to be creative even when other avenues seem easier, and to also seek out and connect with people who don't live, look, or think like us.
Now, to answer the long-awaited question, could your sheep have survived the drought?
The answer is yes. If you, as the ruler, had followed our 3 pillars, your sheep would have survived. If you had allowed your subjects to challenge your perspective and see beyond your own narrow point of view.
If you had committed to the hard process of finding new solutions to the drought, and if you had chosen empathy and truly listened to what your people needed, not just what you assumed was best.
Not only would your sheep have survived, but you'd have a pretty prosperous kingdom with a very successful irrigation system.
And it all begins when we're willing to look beyond a single perspective.
Thank you.